into For the Culture, where we talk about anything socially relevant, whether it be tech, whether it be about our community and our culture, something funny, memes, whatever, we talk about it. And up this week in For the Culture, your boy, Don Lemon, got the boot after 17 years at CNN, according to him, without warning.
Right.
So when this news hit, it hit on the heels of your other boy, Tucker Carlson,
Mm-hmm.
getting the boot over at
Mm-hmm.
Fox News.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of came back to back on the same day. Monday was a wild day in the world as we know it on this large floating rock. Lots of things are going on simultaneously, but these are two of the biggest things. So um, he was already in a bit of a trouble for some
He was on his way
um,
out, in my opinion.
misogynistic things. I think he said about women at CNN. I think they moved him from prime time to daytime. I thought he shined in prime time, and I hated that they moved him to daytime. I don't think that the ladies that he was on the morning show with particularly liked him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think that was one of the reasons that he was, on the way out. But it appears as if the final straw came when they were interviewing this, to me, outlier GOP candidate for president.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to try and pronounce his name because I do not want to be disrespectful. I believe is his first name is Vivek, and his
Mm-hmm.
last name starts with an R. I think I saw people calling him BR. And Don was doing what Don does as a journalist, which I expect a journalist to do. We know how some of these MAGA right wing people try to come on and distort history to fit their narrative. And this particular guy was basically trying to say that the NRA helped Black people get their gun rights after the Civil War. And
Mm-hmm.
Don was basically challenging him, saying that is not correct. And so it was a lot of going back and forth between them. And apparently, what the internets are saying is that was the final straw. Because to me, I don't really watch cable news that much because
Mm-hmm.
it's all to me a big farce. But I know in recent years, to me, CNN has gone Fox Light. They have some very troubling people to me host shows or are contributors or commentators, and I personally don't watch it. Um, and I think the new president or something, he is a former Fox person or in that ilk. And the word on the curb is that interaction with him is what um, really did it. They said that he was being, you know, how they like to say Black people, being aggressive or coming at me or, being, coming too forceful at me. But I mean, that's what journalists do, especially when you're trying to run for president. You have to ask the hard questions and not, um, give these softball interviews to kind of pave the way to make it easier for these people who want to run the country. So, if that's the reason why he got fired, I'm on Don's side for that because I did watch the exchange and I didn't see him doing anything wrong. Now the misogynistic stuff and the anti-woman stuff, Don, bro, come on. But again, like you said, he's been on his way out. I think it started with the New Year's celebrations. He
Well,
was
it did. It
having too good of a
so
time.
so with this new management, you mentioned it. They're under new management. I'm not sure where this new uh, CEO or leader is from. I'm not sure what his background is, but it's been clear. I don't know if it's unwritten or outright. This is the direction that CNN is going. CNN for the past couple of years has been steering back towards the center, and CNN wanted to be all we do is report the news. Now you brought up, the New Year's events at CNN, that not just Don Lemon, but Anderson Cooper and a couple other people, have really been kind of, this is
Having
our
a
time to
good
let
time.
loose, having a good
Yep.
time. And I think the new management's like, nah, that ain't what we doing no more. So they stopped all that. Of course, Don Lemon has his most memorable times in the media as a result of those New Year's Eve parties. So he was kind of the person that they all kind of pointed to as that's the guy that's be kicking it during New Year's Eve live on CNN, right? So that was
Mhm.
kind of like a little notch against him. The fact that they stopped and or canceled his primetime show, I think it came on at 10 o'clock or whatever time it came on, and moved them to the mornings. Anytime in media they start shifting your shows around is pretty much the beginning of the end. So that
And
to
taking you from
me,
a
and
late night show to a
right,
morning
to a
show,
morning
that's a
show,
completely
right,
different ethos, yeah.
right. So you add those two things, and then you add the Nikki Haley thing, which Don Lemon did a terrible job of trying to explain what he was trying to say. The whole thing behind that was Nikki Haley is running for president. She's a Republican. And she was saying we need to get these old folks out of office. Specifically President Biden, who is admittedly old than a mug, past his prime, right? That's what she said. In response to that, Don Lemon was trying to say the way masculinity, the way our patriarchal society works, women who are Nikki Haley's age could be considered past their prime as well, because any woman who's in their 30s, 40s, 50s, the media, entertainment, everybody deems them too old, right? So
Mm.
what he was trying to say was, who are you to
Basically
talk
the
about?
same
Tell
thing you're
somebody too old.
saying, somebody would say the same thing about you.
Somebody could say the same thing about you, but that's not what happened. He didn't say it that
Mm.
way, and it came out that he was being ageist and misogynist, things like that. So that was a knock against him as well. I don't know if the straw that broke the camel's back was him in this interaction between that guy that you mentioned about which is wild, that he said that the Second Amendment and the right to bear arms helped black people after slavery. It's bananas. So if I was sitting up there, I would have called him, held his feet to the fire. I think anybody would have.
Well, he had a
Well, maybe not,
co-host and she didn't say anything. She
well,
just kind of
because
laid back
I
and got on her
if
phone.
if I would have did the same thing, because you could see Don Lemon's like, wait a minute, I can't take this no more. I'm like, all right, the floor is yours, homie. So I don't know if that was a straw that broke the camel's back, but in between all that, there have been text messages, there have been back and forths with other, specifically women colleagues at CNN, and it's
Like
like
I said,
Don
his
Lemon just
co-hosts don't seem to like him.
right, and any other people. There's a whole like little history of spats and back and
Yeah.
forths with Don Lemon at the center, and I think you add all that up, and they're like, it's time to move on from Don Lemon, because, in my opinion, I don't know the dude, but I remember a time when Don Lemon really wasn't rocking the
With black
way,
folks,
right, the
they
way
was
he's
calling
rock.
him Shuffle
Yeah,
John
buddy. Yeah,
at
buddy. And he
a
kind of,
time that
yeah,
he came into his blackness later in life than most.
right,
So
right.
that was
But
definitely a shift for him.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So all that to say, in that history of Don Lemon at CNN, I'm pretty sure he's rubbed some people the wrong way. And then you add that
Absolutely.
into the new management, wanting to go a new direction.
And he's
He
been
was
there for so
probably,
long.
and he's kind of like more the recognizable faces at CNN. I think, the writing was on the wall for a long time.
Yeah. 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 And like I said, I think the timing was one of the things
Right.
because Tucker had just gotten the boot.
Right.
And then Don made a statement saying that basically nobody told him. Then CNN came back and was like, "Well,
Yes, we did.
actually,
Right.
we said you come meet some people and you declined." So yeah, so I
Because he knew
think
what time it
all of
was.
that he knew what it was. And
Mhm.
yeah, he knew. You know what? That man knew. I don't think he liked being on in the mornings because he is more of a hard hitting news type person. And in the mornings, you have to be all like fluffy and light. You can't be
Mhm.
too heavy on the hardcore news in the morning
Right.
because they say, older people are watching, moms getting and dads getting their kids ready for school. That's on. And I don't think he's done morning
Oh, I
like that.
definitely think they probably did it to punch him and push him out the door. And the
Yeah.
fact that he wasn't going nowhere, they was like, "All right, all right, all right, let's get him up out here."
Like when you have a show and they move you to a Friday night, that's like, look,
Yeah, ain't nobody watching TV on Friday night.
we're trying to set it up so you can fail and so we can say you failed. That's why
Mhm.
we're getting you the boot. But you've put me in a situation where there's no possible
Can't
way I
win.
can be
Right.
successful.
Mhm.
Yep. Yep. So I'm sure he's made a whole lot of money. Uh I don't think he's hurting for any money, and I'm sure he will land somewhere else if that is his choice.
And
Um,
if he was talking crazy to women, I hope that kinda wakes him up as well, because I don't put nothing past nobody. I
yeah,
can totally
absolutely.
imagine Don Lemon thinking he's the king of CNN, and they just reminded him that you you ain't nobody. You
As
just
Jay say,
uh-huh.
you
Mhm.
still
Mhm.
mhm.
Yep.
Yep. Sometimes people have to be reminded.
Mhm.
And
As, you
and
know, a black mom would say, you out here smelling yourself."
smelling yourself. You think
Uh-huh.
you are untouchable, friend, but
Mhm.
you are still a working person in
Right,
someone else's company, in someone else's
right.
organization who has the authority over you to end your livelihood in their particular arena.
Yep,
So
yep.
I think he got that awakening real quick. So yeah. So like I said, I think you'll be fine. I think you'll land somewhere else. Um, so it'll be interesting to see where he goes. Um, if I do watch cable news, it is MSNBC, and I typically, if I do watch any, I would watch Joy Reid or Rachel Maddow. Um, and that's pretty much it. But I don't even watch that regularly because all the cable news, what regardless of what station you're on, it has a slant. And people are going to come with they're going to inject their opinions into the news rather than just saying the news. So I don't really trust any of them. But he seems to be a little bit quote unquote more radicalized as it relates to society and some of the ills of our country. So maybe he'll land over there. Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, interesting stuff. And your boy Tucker, I think he got that same rude awakening. You thought you were untouchable, but you're not, friend. You are not. All right, that is going to wrap up for the culture.